Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us to R3 and Grow, Solving Legacy Problems in the Financial Services with DLT. We have Willy, Matthew Keeley and Indra, Suppiah with us today. Thank you everyone, and Indra, take the stage.
Thank you, Amy. Hello everyone. I'm excited to welcome all of you to our panel discussion on solving legacy problems in financial services with DLT. Some housekeeping matters before we start. All microphones of the audience are on mute throughout the panel, and we are recording the session. I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognize their continuing connection to land, waters, and culture. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. My name is Indra. I'm based out of Singapore, and I lead government relations for Asia Pacific in R3. Specific to Australia, I represent R3 in the RegTech working group set up as part of the National Blockchain Roadmap. And today I'm very delighted to have with me two esteemed panelists, Willy Lim, my colleague and senior consultant for global advisory services in R3. Hi there, Willy, how's it going?
Hi, Indra, how are you? It's nice to be here today.
And we have Matthew Keeley, Managing Director and CEO of Grow. Hello, Matt, how's it going?
Very well, excited to be here.
Great stuff. So we have a very interesting and important topic to speak about today, and I'm looking forward to engaging our panelists in a lively conversation. So over the course of this 30 minutes, if there are any questions from the audience, please type them into the chat section of the Zoom, along with your name, organization, and where you are based, and I'll be happy to get them addressed. So let's get straight into it. So DLT is one of the hottest topics in financial services today, and it is creating real business value in a variety of ways, creating efficiencies in processes, accelerating banking processes such as clearing, settlement, improving data security, and so on. So with DLT increasingly showing its capability to revolutionize many areas of the financial sector, I would love to turn to you, Willy, and hear from you. How is this immense potential of DLT being translated from R3 to its customers, and what are some of the exciting areas of work that R3 has been involved in that you could share with us today?
Thank you, Indra. And yeah, DLT blockchain it's a massive topic, especially in 2021. It's now graduated from just an emerging tech, categorized as emerging tech probably years ago, now more into like a technology that is really quite serious for solving serious business problems. In R3, I'm actually particularly excited. In fact, like if I may, I'll probably nominate 4 projects. Yeah, the first one is closest to my heart is really around the central bank digital currency. We at R3, we've been leading the CBDC working group in collaboration with the public and private sectors all around the world, and really in the understanding the application of CBDC. In R3, we've been blessed to be involved in several big projects all around the world. To name a few, we have the Bank to France, really focusing a lot in solving cross-border payments, cross-border CBDC, which is really one of the low-hanging fruit that CBDC is solving. We also extended our project with South Africa Reserve Bank, predominantly on the application of CBDC as a solution to eliminate clearing in the securities market industry. And I personally am also involved in a lot of CBDC need assessment paperwork with several central banks across the region. The second one is around digital asset. And I think a lot of our audience out there is really talking about cryptocurrency, digital asset. Digital asset is really a very hot topic, especially this year. Primarily around it allows the democratization of investments. So these are now like allowing households, mom and dads, to be able to invest in various asset classes, which traditionally are not possible because of a minimum capital requirements. So this is really massively doing a lot of projects in R3, such as like real estate token to ETF to simple loans. The third one is the one probably I'm also really excited is around the Spanta project, which is a testimony of why blockchain has been developed in the first place, because it really allows the whole in the banking sector in Italy to solve their business problem around intermittent reconciliation, which is really quite a headache for them. And last but not the least, which is around an add-on to DLT, it's around Conclave, which is confidential computing. This is also a very exciting area because we get to solve a lot of the perennial problems around, such as like financial crime, anti-money laundering, and also applications such as like dark pool. Yeah, so it's in R3, it's really a very exciting year for DLT.
Yeah, it truly sounds very exciting. And going back to Spanta, I'll be interested to hear a little bit more about the project, because I think that'll be of interest, especially given that you mentioned that most of the Italian Banking Association, it's on it. So I think that those who are in the financial sector who are wondering about scalability issues when considering porting over to traditional business systems will be interested to hear about it. So could you share a bit more about that?
Yeah, thank you, Indra. So probably a bit of a background on Spanta. So in fact, it's actually all the Italian banks that are around like 130 plus, I think banks in Italy have joined together to solve a real business industry problem. This is really around like to bring down the costs of reconciliation, which is really like, to us at the end of the day, it's bring back to like a charging fee. So with the interbank reconciliation, effectively it allows before blockchain, it is difficult for a legacy system to be able for competitors to work closely together because of like privacy, things around like for example like a bilateral data exchange, all of those stuff. Now with blockchain, with Corda into the picture, it allows the industry to form like a competition, allows competitors to work closely together without sharing sensitive data to solve business problems. That's like interbank reconciliation, KYC, all of those. Yeah. So this one, I'm personally really proud of it because it's now becoming a poster child, an inspiration for a lot of the banks all around the world, especially in certain jurisdictions, to really like as a platform, like it's actually promoting a platform for competition to work together. And things around as well, starting from interbank reconciliation, they have now wider visions of using the same platform, such as like instant payment, industry KYC, documentary exchange, which all impossible with the legacy system. Now, the other probably key metrics that probably everyone will be interested after they went live with Spanta a year ago. Even up to now, they're now handling almost 180 million transactions a year, and they were able to achieve a 98.5% matching rate, which bring down the usual reconciliation from monthly down to mere hours every day. So imagine like COVID-19 is really quite hit hard in Italy, where a lot of the payments are now handled in digital. Having this platform in a timely manner that it went live, it really reduced the cost and effectively it scales a lot as well. And things around as well, why they choose Corda, there are three main things. Number one is scalability. Number two is around the support of security, data privacy, support like around like reverse proxy, which is really quite unique. And also the third one is around a service level agreement, because this is an FMI, it's a payment infrastructure. It needs to be supported by an SLA agreement. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Willy, for sharing snippets of the Spanta case study. It's truly a noteworthy R3 win. And talking about wins, our second guest, Matt, is no stranger to securing wins, what with Grow's recent success with one of the largest asset management firms globally, Vanguard. So congratulations on that to Matt and the Grow team. And could you share a little bit more about this recent win?
Yeah, of course. So Grow is a technology company that solves legacy problems in finance. The whole objective is been to build the most modern wealth administration platform in the world. The technology that we use is distributed ledger, and R3's Corda underpins that. The decision was to try and create a single unified view of the customer, regardless of which product, jurisdiction or service provider worked with them. 12 months ago, we had no clients. We now have 2 clients, and one of those, as you just said, after 16 months of due diligence, is one of the largest asset managers in the world, and very proud of the team to secure that mandate. And we're just proud that we can help Vanguard become the super fund they aspire to become. Our technology is a global application, so it's designed to be portable across different jurisdictions. And I think what underpins us, or the reason behind our success, is also our shareholders. We're backed by Citibank, R3. We have a number of other extremely large, IWF, largest wealth manager here, and also Greenstone, backed by one of the Canadian pension funds. So a great business, very proud of Vanguard, and we're on a mission now to apply our technology globally.
Yeah. Actually, what really stands out to me, Matt, is the fact that the superannuation sector is generally considered conservative, and DLT in this sector is hardly mainstream. So what really led to Grow making this decision of embarking on the DLT route, and how has this benefited both Grow and your customers?
Yeah, it's best to understand the story. So we started as a group of entrepreneurs aspiring to change the member experience or redefine the member experience for superannuation. We built a market-leading front-end application that plugged into back-end technologies. Those back-end technologies are significantly outdated. So it's worth understanding behind the scenes in a superannuation landscape or managed fund is that super funds don't really need to communicate with another super fund. However, behind that, they actually rely on a complex web of parties each day to perform transactions. So there is a super fund, there is a trustee, there is the government, there is a custodian, there is an insurer, and there is an administrator. And the current landscape is that if you joined by that front end, it is passed via unreconciled data to one party to the other, and there is no shared or single view of that data. So when we realized we tried to plug into back-end architecture and technology, it was 20 to 30 years old. It's no different to looking at a Nokia 3310. It was great technology back then, but the world has moved forward. And really the back-end infrastructure was preventing super funds from bringing their value proposition to life. And what that meant, they were unable to control their operating model. They were unable to choose which third parties they wanted to control and operate. They were unable to redefine member experiences, and they were unable to use real-time data to anticipate needs of a customer. And so what we look to do is if we said, well, all these parties need to communicate and share reconciled data, blockchain would have a purpose. But the problem with blockchain for us was that operating in financial services, you need a permission-based blockchain. So we chose distributed ledger. And when we did our assessment, R3 and Corda came out on top. And the reason for that was that a lot of the work underneath Corda enables us to permission not just at a core notary level, but also when you dive deeper underneath at a permission at a user level. And this is really important for auditability to immutability and corporate governance, I guess, or governance when it looked upon in the financial services sector.
That's excellent. Thanks so much for sharing Grow's story. So at this point, I'd like to request the audience to ask away any questions that you may have for our two panel guests. We probably have 15 minutes left to the end of the panel. So continuing on that line of thinking, Willy, maybe I'd like to turn it back to you. So I think that there may be CIOs in our midst who are probably grappling with legacy systems and considering making the move to DLT. So what do you think they should be keeping in mind when planning for the future?
It's a great question. In fact, DLT has really changed the way how CIOs should be managing their role and responsibility. To me, there are three key things that usually change the dynamics. The first one is really you have the CIO, the role of the CIO has changed dramatically. So you now have a role where you're becoming like prior to this one, CIO are typically just like technology delivery, or they just a passive part of the overall business. But nowadays, we view CIO's role are more like innovation partners or business partners. So I couldn't find any more in an industry where technology is not really the driver. And yeah, so this is to me like it's really an eye-opener for a lot of the CIOs out there. Yeah. The second thing around is the reinvention of technology delivery. Gone, I know a lot of our folks here in Australia, gone are the days where we have like waterfalls, a lot of monolithic sort of like architecture or a single application that handles everything. So we're now in a world where have shifted towards more agile sort of delivery. These are like really going to the market much more quicker, adapting to what the customer wants, and also incorporating features that's being sought after and nimble enough to change the priorities. So these are things that, that's really quite changing the dynamics. And also things around like we're now into the world of cloud computing, less of the on-prem. So it's really also the security level, the readiness, it's just like Matt has mentioned earlier, has also changed dramatically. The cost has gone down, but the dynamics, the requirements or the skills needed to manage that also changed dramatically. The third and last one will be around a future proof of the foundation. Really, you need to look into a technology that's not only for you to serve your your immediate objective for the short term, but you have to work on a technology that will be there for the next 10 years. So this is really where core the blockchain is really, to me, it's really the technology that's really building the future, really the future of businesses. I couldn't see a business nowadays that you're just a standalone. So it's really, if a business is like even like a small bank perspective, like you now see financial services working closely together, collaboration, alliances with various sectors, such as like telecoms, open banking. So it's really, this is where blockchain DLT has really been developed. It's really for the purpose of things around like open finance. It's really to collaborate. It's really a technology that allows you to grow as your business try to transform into different aspects. You have a technology that remains constant, remains agile to the needs of what's expected from the customers.
Thanks a lot, Willy. Good consulting advice. So we have a question from one of our audience members, from Sean Simon. How does Corda help to combat the practice of money laundering or other fraudulent practices? Willy, maybe I could ask that question to you.
Yes, definitely. So from a money laundering perspective, it's around making sure like it's the application of a lot of workflow. It's really like we follow through a lot of legal pros, like our smart contracts is usually embedded with a lot of like anti-money laundering rules. In fact, like to share a bit, like R3 is formed with a consortium of banks. In fact, we have a lot of regulator members that help advise us in building Corda and Conclave into supporting a lot of the anti-money laundering. So things around like workflow, reporting, real-time reporting, making sure like data are being secured properly. Also things around like creating alerts, certain alerts, and also around like the support of plug-in oracles, such as like whitelisting coming out from the industry or coming out from the regulators to stop transaction flowing through.
Thanks a lot, Willy. And there's a question from Joni to Matt on, I think it's more of a platform comparison question, Corda versus Besu, and what was the reasons for Grow to consider going the Corda path?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's best to turn your head back to 2016, 2017 when we had to make this decision. We made that assessment, and it's very fair to say that the advancements of DLT has come a long way since then. In our opinion, when we did our assessment, we viewed that Corda was the most advanced. We were also very fortunate that of a number of the big institutions and financial institutions that we were targeting globally as clients, certainly the feedback at that point in time was that Corda was the front runner. But I will say we now live in a world where we are agnostic to technology, and we will choose the most powerful technology that sits out there. And if there is another one that comes in the future, we've never capitalized any asset on our balance sheet. And we've done that because we do believe the world of the future may result in technology that is more powerful than exists today. And we don't want to have a mindset where we say, no, but we've capitalized this, it's worth X many million or billion on our balance sheet, and we can't do that. So back in 2016, we chose Corda, and that's why we are where we are today.
That's great. And actually, when we talk about change in any form or at any level, there's always this issue of an adoption gap. So Matt, given that you deal with various stakeholders in your ecosystem, what in your opinion will motivate them to participate in or join the DLT bandwagon?
Yeah, great challenging and a good question. When you think of that ecosystem, so picture a pentagon in your head, and I said it before, you have you might have Citibank or JP Morgan as your custodian. You might have Hanover or a large insurer that sits there. You'll have an administrator, you'll have the super fund, you'll have the regulator. You cannot expect them to transform their whole world onto DLT. But what you can say is that you could actually provide reconciled data across all of those parties. And so each of our parties receive a node. And in that node, then therefore, they can actually take data off that execute as they do and follow their business and process rules that they do in back of house. So if Citibank, how they execute trades and pass them down onto an exchange, they continue to operate the way they do today. But when they share data back to the administrator or to the super fund, they don't send a CSV anymore. They drop that onto the node, and then everybody is obviously updated and receives that information automatically. When compared to the current model is an email would be sent back to the administrator, they'd upload that into their database. The next day they would send that across to the super fund then would spend that afternoon and put it back up into the front end customer experience. And then the customer would be seeing a price or details which are 2 or 3 days old. And so that's just an example of the implications. So when we looked at that world, we have been very strategic to say these are the immediate benefits, but we've found a practical way to apply DLT. But no, we are not purists. We do not go to Citibank and say you need to move your whole world onto DLT, but we do enable them to build their best target operating model of today and then adapt that target operating model for the future. So if they do want to create a front-end member experience that is API driven, we can do that. If they do want to still operate where they drop a CSV in, we can still take that. If Citibank today would prefer to operate and run their business like they do now, they can do that. But in the future, if there is a back-end waste that's removed of executing trades and holding at a custodian level, that can be adapted in the future. So it's very much a hybrid or halfway. And we do get a lot of people say, so you're not a pure or how blockchain is seen by many others. And that's very important, because I just think if you try and be too much of a purist, you will not actually sell anything, because you're asking for transformational change.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. All right. In the interest of time, Willy, maybe can I turn the time back to you? You know, with so many exciting developments coming out of R3's work, what would you say is next? What is it that we can next look forward to from the R3's team?
Yeah, definitely. What we're working on at the moment is we understand 2021 is all around adoption. It's all around really. To me, it's really the prime time of blockchain as in general, especially in Corda as well. So we are focusing a lot on building a lot of software development kit SDKs. It's really these are I would say like middleware apps that allows all our partners, our clients, the accelerator to be able to develop application on top in a much more rapid manner. So take it to example, like a lot of our ecosystem nowadays, it's just like Contour for a letter of credit. We have Marco Polo for the trade financing. So effectively, all the missing bit is really around like how do they interoperate with existing payment infrastructure while they're waiting for hopefully with CBDC in the next future in the next couple of years. So effectively, the needs like that. This is where we help out building out SDKs. Middle stack apps that allows the partners to be able to quickly develop an SDK that allows them to communicate to existing payment infrastructure, whether it's Swift, whether it's a payment service provider, things like that. And also second thing, we're also quite heavily doing a lot of work around the supply chain trade financing, especially with our new also middleware SDK. It's a standardization called electronic bill of lading, which is really the missing, I would say, the missing bit among supply chain is really the standardization of invoice and the portability of invoice as it goes through to visit the various parties in a chain for supply chain. So yeah, definitely these are some of the samples. Projects that we're working on, and things around as well, like we're still continuing, as I mentioned, around like CBDC, around like digital asset, mostly around like we're working a lot with a lot of the FMIs all around the world. So really they're into like they understand now, probably back in 2016, the world is different now, 2021, the demand is different. It's really around like the simplification, the efficiency, the merger of business models, such as like you now have issuance joining together with the secondary trading venue. So things like that. These are some of the exciting projects that we're working on.
Yeah, it truly sounds exciting. And I believe that the R3 team is very hard at work making all these materialize. So on to you, Matt. What other exciting things can we expect from Grow going forward?
Yeah, so Grow is now we've made a big promise that we could create the future of finance. We're now delivering on that promise, so we must execute incredibly well on our 2 foundation clients, one of those also being obviously Vanguard. You will see our business extend beyond superannuation. So we've rebranded our business to be called Grow Inc., no different to Apple Computers to Apple Inc. We see significant opportunity in the managed fund listed and unlisted space. We see a world where you could create a single view of the customer when compared to the current model where product providers or product manufacturers will have different administrators for different products. That means that you are unable to actually create a single view of that customer. And myself as an individual, for example, if I was to buy a Vanguard pension product, a Vanguard ETF and a Vanguard managed fund, I would actually have 3 customer profiles. If I was then to try and buy an asset overseas, Vanguard are unable to lift and shift out the existing infrastructure or archaic infrastructure that exists today. You would have to set up a new administrator. So you can see how those multiple customer profiles. So our job now is to execute on our customers that we have, drive deeper into superannuation, and then expand our products and services beyond Australia.
Wow, sounds like very exciting developments coming up. And I wish everyone at Grow Inc. every success in your future endeavors. So unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for today's rapid fire panel. So thank you once again to our 2 panel guests for taking the time out of your busy schedules to share your perspectives on DLT changing the face of the financial services sector. I truly had a wonderful time speaking to the 2 of you. And I would also like to thank Steve Wallace and the entire Blockchain Australia team for putting together this incredible event and for having us on the panel. If there are further questions from the floor or on any of the points that we raised in today's panel, please feel free to reach out to either Willy, Matt, or myself via LinkedIn. And with that, I hope all of you continue to stay tuned and enjoy the rest of the segments in our Blockchain Week. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.